Hey guys, welcome back to Bonsai. It's me, your old Uncle Pinky, and no surprise, another beautiful day here at the Barbie Dream Shop where we are, again, working on the Albatross, our long-term MazdaSpeed Widebody Turbo project car. And so in our last episode, we had painted the door jambs because we decided to change the color of the car. And so we painted, base coat, clear coat on the door jambs. In this episode, we're doing the top coat on the entire car. And actually, we've kind of started on that, and I'll bring you up to speed on where we are. So basically, the deal is, after you spray the jambs, you close the doors and stuff, you sand out the overspray on the outside of the car. When we do the jambs, we want to, be sloppy about it as far as getting paint on the outside. We're good with that because we're going to sand it all down. And then we're sanding that out to 600 like the rest of the car. And then once that's done, we can go ahead and lay our first coat of base coat. Okay, so when you're talking about car paint, you're going to hear people say things like, single stage or like a, base clear, 2-pack, 3-pack, something like that. What they're talking about are the number of coats involved in getting your finish. On a single stage, which is like old school paint, you've got to shoot for coverage and gloss in the same time. And it's hard. It's kind of a fine line between getting enough paint on to get a shine, right, to get a good gloss, and having so much paint that it all just runs down the side in big sheets and curtains. In the first episode, I said something to the effect that, you could teach a monkey how to spray paint. And I mean, you could. They're not going to do a good job, right? Monkeys aren't motivated like that, but you could teach them. Honestly, when it comes to single stage, it would have to be like the best spraying monkey in the world to get a good job. It's not easy. However, what we have these days is typically what we call base coat, clear coat. And in base coat, clear coat, we shoot our color and then we shoot our gloss. And they're two separate products, they're two separate stages. It's a two-stage, right? So when we're shooting our base coat, all we're doing is shooting for coverage, right? We're shooting for color. So we can put nice light coats on and just keep walking around, just keep building them up, just keep throwing more coats on until you get a nice uniform. There's no striping, no banding, nothing is heavy around the edges. You don't have, especially with metallics, if you spray it on too heavy, all the metallics are gonna kind of sink down to the edges and you get, it looks like you've outlined the panels. So that's great if that's what you're going for, but that's typically not what we're going for. So base coat, clear coat is great because it's super forgiving. Not only can we just do nice light coats of color until we get a good consistent finish everywhere, but we also have the opportunity to fix things that go wrong because things sometimes go wrong. And in this case, something went wrong. We had to fix it. As we shot the first base coat on, everything was terrific and it looks great. The problem is that in one little spot on the hood, it lifted. And by lifting, what I mean is sometimes if you get a contaminant on the surface, and it could be something as simple as, somebody wiped some sweat off their head and then touched the car. That grease will make the new paint lift. When we did the primer, it did not lift. So I don't think there was anything wrong with our prep. I think while we were sanding it out, one of us was just sloppy and, you know, had a little grease, maybe, you know, we ate McDonald's, came in, touched the car. It takes a very little bit of contaminant to make the paint lift. And so what that ends up looking like is this. Now, my viewers are a sharp-eyed, clever bunch, and so some of you noticed that when we shot the epoxy primer, we were wearing respirators. But then, when we were shooting the jams, doing base coat, not such a big deal, right? Here's why. Here in my paint room is, we did the math on it, I think it's about 3,600 cubic feet of space, right? It's 16 by 26 by, I'd say an average of 9 feet, right? The ceiling is, like this, it's from 8 to 10 feet. So let's just say it's 9 feet. That works out to about 3,600 cubic feet of air, of volume in this room. My ventilation fan moves 22,000 cubic feet per minute, which means, when you do the math, basically all of the air in this room is completely turned over. 100% new air, roughly almost every 10 seconds. So 6 times a minute, it's fresh air. Nothing lingers in this room. No overspray, no fumes, nothing like that lingers in here for more than 10 seconds, right? Beyond that, if you notice, I always start at the back of the car and I kind of spray forward. And the reason for that is that way the fumes, the overspray, they're all being drawn away from me. I'm kind of standing back here in fresh air, right? Now, I don't mess around when it comes to epoxy paints. I don't mess around when it comes to clear coat, okay? That's isocyanate. It's crazy glue. It's terrible. You would never want to breathe that stuff. So you'll notice epoxies, anything that's like an activated 2-part, mix it up and shoot it before it turns into a diamond. You got to wear protective equipment. Since we're going to be spraying so much clear when we do the final clear coat on the full body of the car, not only will I wear a respirator, I'll wear a Tyvek suit. I don't want that stuff anywhere on my skin. I don't want it on my beautiful head. I certainly don't want it in my lovely lungs. And so that's the deal with PPE. Now, getting back to our lifting problem. Again, the beauty of base coat, clear coat is that's not a big deal. It's the end of spraying for the day, but it's not the end of the world. So what we do is we let it dry overnight. We let it get all stabilized, and then we just wet sand it. Just wet sand it out, shoot that area over that area again with a primer sealer to really seal up in case there was any contamination in there. As long as the primer doesn't go wackadoo, the top coat's probably not gonna go wackadoo either. So that's where we are now. While doing that, the trick to doing a perfect paint job is to just make it perfect, right? At every step, really, really examine the car very closely and make sure that there are no flaws, because there are gonna be, there's always flaws. Things happen, right? It's that way in life. Things are gonna happen. So all you can do is just keep kind of working back toward, where you're trying to get to. In this case, it's flawless. And so we took this opportunity to kind of go around the car. Doing the base coat showed a couple of little imperfections that we really didn't notice in primer. Then we wet sanded all that primer out to 600 like the rest of the car. Went over the whole first coat of base coat very gently with 600 grit, just to knock the tops off, just to knock any dust off, just to really give it a little tooth for the next coats. So the next coats we're going to shoot are going to be 2 or 3 coats of lead coats of base coat, and then we're going to shoot clear coat, and then hopefully everything goes well, and we'll stick the nose back on it, we'll throw the wheels back on it, we'll put it on the ground, we'll wheel her outside and take a look at it in the sun. So let's do that. All right, enough talking, let's do it.